Welcome to the Matson Shooting Academy podcast. If you're a clay target shooter, then we have what you're looking for. Speaking with some of the best in the industry about the game you're passionate about. Subscribe to the Clay Lab on YouTube and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or your favorite podcast platform. The Matson Shooting Academy podcast is brought to you by Castellani USA, Greenwood Custom Stocks, and Ranger Eyewear. Here's your host, Cody Matson of Matson Shooting Academy.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. Got a special guest on the show this evening. This guy takes no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyways. We got the one, the only Mike Luongo, the team manager for Krieghoff International. I actually got him to slow down enough to sit down and have a podcast with me. So Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cody. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. You are one of the busiest guys I know.
It's nonstop. It never stops. They said I can sleep when I'm dead. That's my definition. Yep.
Man. And so you just got back from nationals and Team Krieghoff dominated.
Yeah, it was maybe arguably our best performance ever as a team. Super proud. Brandon Powell was your national champion.
Back to back.
Parcell, back to back. He's the alien, we call him. Turner Parcell, he's been, all year solid, right? And he handled it well. Brought it the second day, was your runner-up. Also was your junior champion. Aaron Miles won the ladies, Krieghoff shooter, one of the best, women shooters in the country. But she's a lot of events. If you look, she was right there with the guys. I mean, she was up there. I mean, pretty impressive.
That's outstanding. Fun
to watch. Yep.
Yeah,
Braxton Oliver won the K Cup, right? The Krieghoff Cup. Braxton Oliver won it. And, everybody, I shot pretty well. Mike Luongo shot well. We had a lot of Krieghoff shooters. We actually had Jacob Judson shoot the 32-inch Sporter, and he won the sub-junior.
Man, That's great.
So we were solid everywhere.
Yeah, no, that is so cool to see. I know that you've been a part of Turner's journey, and I'm sure watching him, as me being a coach myself, just being able to see your student, take off like that and achieve the things that he's achieved. I mean, there's just a deep sense of pride there. I'm sure you feel that.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I've literally taken years off my shooting, right, trying to help shooters out, and that's just the stage of life. That's about shooting's my last thing. Many other things before that, family first. And my daughter, she had a blast at the nationals. I mean, she was everywhere. She drew the ticket. She was in every vendor. She was hanging out with Stephanie Cobb, Kemble DuPont. She would go to all the vendors, and
that's
hang
great.
out. She had a blast. And then Turner I knew he was ready. His mom called me, quick story. Mike, he's off. He's off. I said, I'll have him ready. I always do. Don't worry about it. And she was all nervous. I said, Mom, have I ever let him down? She's like, no. I was like, he'll be good. Then he came out for a lesson, and I called her. I go, we got a problem.
Yeah.
No, we worked it out. It's a confidence thing, too, with some younger shooters. You see it probably all the time with
absolutely
shooters. I see it myself sometimes, right? You're like, oh,
yeah,
I haven't had time to practice. Well, you get the mindset right, you're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, you and I know that we can elevate a shooter's, skill and talent to any level, but if the confidence isn't there on the same level, it's not going to perform, right? It's not going to happen. So confidence is key to unlocking all of that. But man, that's great. Well, what I want to have you on for, Mike, is something's pretty special coming up at Cherokee Rose is a Krieghoff Demo Days. And I'm very excited about being a part of that and, doing a bunch of coaching at Cherokee Rose. It's one of my favorite venues, beautiful club. I've spent a lot of time there, working for Double D and Gene, and we're going to be there letting folks try some Krieghoffs. So tell me all about the details of that.
Yeah. So I, Double D and Gene years ago, we got them shooting Krieghoffs, and they loved the brand, loved the gun. And when they took Cherokee Rose over, I'm kind of expanding and getting more into gun sales. I've kind of worked on that for the past 2 years. And, in the future, I wanted to start, going to different venues. And I said, man, what's better than to take it to Cherokee Rose, right? Beautiful course, great people, perfectly manicured, and you're right close to Atlanta, Georgia. right? With a lot of people that I get a lot of Krieghoff customers from Atlanta, and I get a lot of them like, I'd love to, buy one, but I just want to give it a test drive. I said, I agree with you, right? I wouldn't, when you're buying a gun that starts at the $15,000 mark, I tell everybody you shouldn't just buy it off the rack. Go try it um, and get somebody to help you with what you need, right? That's huge. I think we tell everybody, don't, we can do anything for you. We can build you whatever we want. Let's try to figure out what you want. And, I was talking to Dieter Krieghoff himself, right? The man behind the whole thing. And Dieter said, we've got a full menu now. When I started first shooting a Krieghoff, we had one gun, different stocks, different lengths of barrel, but one gun. And now we can kind of set up a gun for anybody. We've got every configuration, different weights. We can use barrel weights, we can use stock weights, different stocks. And we have a full blown custom shop, right? To build you a stock if you want a stock. A lot of guys do that, right? They go to like, for say, a Jim Greenwood or a, S&S or whoever, and they get a stock done. And then they're like, Krieghoff, they have their measurements and we rebuild another stock. So we're kind of like the full menu now. We can
Yeah.
do anything for any type of shooter.
Yeah, and that's exceptional. There's so many, folks have so many different builds, different shooting styles. There's just tons and tons of different configurations out there, and you're going to find that a certain configuration is going to suit you better, right? I mean, the platform, the K-80 is, tried and true, super robust. There's nothing like a K-80 trigger, but then it's the barrel configuration, it's the stock configuration, and until you can take them for a test drive, you might not know what suits you best, right? I
Yep.
mean, I'm shooting the parkour, and man, I absolutely love it. It's phenomenal. Now I know you're a sporter guy.
Yeah. My joke, with people, we didn't have a full menu then, right? So I'm married to it. And, Turner, for example, shoots the Farcore X. Gibbon Miles shoots a pro sporter. Mike Wilgus shoots a pro sporter. So they all work, right? If you look at
Yeah,
people saying it's kind of what feels good in somebody's hands. If I get like you and Will Fennell, I know I've got to be stocked up with parkours, right? Because
that's
that's what
right.
you
We're gonna
guys
keep them
like.
flying off the shelves for you.
So, parkours, and I think it's a great configuration, right? And that's the thing. And, when I first started this, I told a lot of people I got to be careful, right? Because I'm biased to the sporters. That's all I knew. And then I actually went through, and when the parkour came out, I shot one. I got one sent to me. I shot it. I did the same with the X. I did the same with the pro sporter, and they all have their advantages, right? For certain people. So that's what's neat. We can kind of come up with what is good for you, you know.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what November 3rd and 24th is going to be all about. Is you're going to have a little bit of everything there, right? And
Yeah.
we're going to be able to, those folks are going to be able to get their hands on it. We can configure them however they want, and then we're going to be able to go out with you and make sure that you know all about the guns, and I'll let you elaborate on that, but that's going to be great.
Yeah. So basically, we're going to have every gun we make, from a lady's gun to a field gun in small gauge options to a Prince of Wales stock, right? If you're interested in a quail gun, an upland gun, we're going to have a trap gun, right? If you're just a trap shooter, come out and try a high rib gun. We're going to have different stocks, left and right handed, and sub gauge barrels, right? You might say, I really want to try a 28 gauge barrel, but I haven't shot one yet. And we can slap that barrel on and you can try it. What's going to be really neat and unique about this one, just what we did at the Nationals, right? I was at the Nationals a lot this week, helping people, set up guns, right? And saying, hey, this might work for you. Like I had a young lady come in, for example. She's like, the Victoria just didn't work for me. And I said, well, you're not built for a stock that short. I put a regular parkour stock on for her, and we actually added a spacer. And she goes, oh my God, I love the gun. Where her
Right.
first inclination, right? She didn't like it because it didn't fit her. So we're going to take people like yourself, Cody, and you've done a great job with this over the past year. And, you're going to be able to go out with, a shooting instructor that's going to be able to let you try a couple different guns, 1-on-1 or 3-on-1, whoever, if you bring a couple friends, and they're going to let you try it and say, I think sporter would work better for you instead of this. Here's why. And they're going to be able to tell you why. You're just not grabbing a gun off a shelf and a guy goes, go shoot it. You're going to be able to go out, get set up with a pro, right? And somebody who's qualified to elaborate. And, we've got yourself, and Cody's done a great job all year. I've sent you stocks, different configurations of, Mike, I need this. All right, I'll get it to you. And letting people try that gun. And that's just excellent. And I think, Cody, you'd agree the customer gets a better experience, right?
Oh, it's
We're
so
getting
much
there.
better.
Yeah. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
like ordering offline, and which, don't take me wrong. Some people that have already demoed at shoots, that works, but we're giving you one-on-one with somebody that can actually help you, whether you're a brand new shooter that just wants to get a nice gun to shoot with your buddies, or you're a seasoned shooter that shoots, say a certain gun, but I had a guy the other day, he bought a gun off me 2 years ago. And he's like, Mike, I'm getting a little older, gun's a little heavy. And of course, I sold him a sporter, right? He's
Yeah.
like, and he ended up trading in and getting a parkour. And
Yeah.
he called me and thanked me. He's like, man, best decision, Mike. It's lighter. I can move it. And, so we're going to be able to do that. And what's going to be really unique, we're going to have Cody. We're going to bring in Turner Parcell, right? So if you're like a younger shooter, or, if you're left-handed, you can see it from a lefty. And Turner can kind of tells you what he sees. And then we've got Brandon there that day, the current national champion, just to kind of take you out. So everybody there is going to, and myself, right, is capable of helping somebody get their gun.
Yeah, that's a world of knowledge between all of us. But, you alluded to the customer service side of things. Every student that I've had that wanted to demo it, you've been so good about sending me, a stock or a left-handed stock or the Victoria stock, and then I've been taking them on and off my gun and letting them
Yep.
demo it right there. And I mean, that's just going above and beyond, but that's what we do, right? We want to make sure that the customer is making the right decision for them, and that we support them in that decision. I mean, all the stuff we know with the eye dominance and everything and how that translates into gun fit. We can set
Absolutely.
that gun up and, and I'm sure, show them that, man, this is why it works and this configuration is great. But that's going to be so fun, man. I can't wait. There's going to be so many different configurations for folks to try, and that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think that's big. Like, you tapped on it. My thing is, I tell everybody, my college internship, I'm sorry, my final project, not my internship. That was just a lot of work. Um, my final project was basically outlining a gun store, right? That was my dream. I never said, oh, I wanted to be a target setter, right? That just happened. I never said I wanted to be a coach, right? That just happened. I never, oh, I want to be in the management. My dream was to have a gun store. So all those things, from the teaching and the target setting and the being on courses, kind of led me here. And my biggest goal when I got this going was, hey, I'm going to go above and beyond, right? And I'm, bring the knowledge to people. Just don't let them buy a gun off the rack. And I do that when people even want to buy an A400, right? Beretta. I go, hey, we sell those too. Let me give you all the advantages. And I tell them about the shims and, how you can make it right hand cast, left hand cast. And I said, you got to go. My goal was to, a lot of these people are buying their forever gun, right? Or their
That's right.
competition gun. And I want to
Their
make
dream
sure,
gun.
right, their dream gun. And I want to make sure till the day I can't do it anymore, right? And fall out, that I did all I could. And people like yourself and others that help out kind of building this thing. And it's gone wild the last 2 years. And matter of fact, I'm going to be shifting gears here come January, and that's going to be my focus, right? It's going to be more gun sales and, teaching, and I'm kind of stepping down from the day-to-day operations. And that's a great thing. It's not a negative thing, right? I've done it my whole life, and it's time for me to expand on what I really wanted to do, because I
That's
put
right.
in time to do it and got there, and everything's good, right? And it's going to be good. We're going to bring more knowledge to shooters, and, like I said, you're buying a gun that suits you. You're not just buying one off the shelf, right? Walking
That's right.
into the Cabela's or, like I said, a box store and saying, yeah, give me that gun right there because it's on sale. No, we're
Yeah.
going to get you what you need. And then we're going to back it, right? We've got some of the best gunsmiths in the world that work for Krieghoff International. I mean, those guys impressed me huge at the Nationals. I mean, they're nonstop, 12-hour days, but then they'd be in the middle of one gun and somebody's gun. Hey, this happened, my end bead fell off. Boom, they got him back in 30 seconds and they got him out there. So that's huge. It's a customer service the whole company brings.
Yeah, well, it's one thing, having a product, but it's how do you support that product? And,
Right.
with yourself, I mean, you're doing all this at Rocky Creek Sporting Clays there in South
Yep.
Carolina. And, I'm Atlanta based here. And, we just have a lot of, a lot of support in the area. And I think that's important. Any product that you're going to put out there, you also need to provide that support, or at least have a team in place to make sure and maintain and do all that stuff. And, well, man, I'm super excited for you to hear that, your progression, you getting out of the management side of it and going more towards the gun sales, without you even saying all the things, that's taken to get to that point. It's just so apparent that you love to do this,
Love it.
because
Yep.
the time and the effort, and, I'm texting you at 8:30 at night on a Sunday about, needing something, and man, you're always right there. And that passion, it shows through. And I think anybody that comes out to this demo day, they're gonna see that in all of us, and know that, we're not just pushing a product, we're pushing something that we believe in and that works, well for us, right? That's our choice, that's our tool, that's our partner in that game. So that's awesome. And then, so there's some folks listening that they're not going to be able to make it to the demo day, and that's unfortunate. But how are they getting in touch with you, to see guns, and where do they look? Where do you make them visible?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Cody. So when I started this thing, as you know, and many others, there was a, inventory problem because of COVID, right? And that's every manufacturer. That was shells, guns, everything was kind of shortage, right? There was a shortage on everything. The demand was high, right? And the supply was low. That's starting to turn around.
That's
And
great. Good to hear it.
yeah, we need that for everything in our industry, right? And so right now, I've actually got a website being built, and I tell people I didn't have a website before. People like yourself, Will Fennell, all these shooters, and all my friends, supporting me, in the journey. This is how we sold them, and that's all we needed from the start because the product wasn't there. Everything we got. How many times do you call it, Mike? I've got a student looking for this. I'm like, January, you know.
Yeah. Right.
And the great part is we've kind of got with Krieghoff, their staff is amazing, and we're able to give people timelines that are close, and it's all worked out. But now the product's flowing in a little better, and we're
Good.
going to have more. And I'm creating a website, right? It's going to be open 24 hours a day, and guns are going to be uploaded. Every time we get them in, they're going to have professional photos. But my number's going to be on there, what we're about, who to go see. I'm going to have different, instructors and shooters on there that you can go see. That you can in your area, like the Atlanta area, South Carolina, all over that can help you get it, try a gun, a demo gun, right? And or you can come to me, right, to try one. And then or if you were at the San Antonio Nationals in Texas and you like, I tried a 34-inch KTW parkour and I've got to have that gun. Buy it off the website.
Yeah.
So you could buy it at midnight if you want, right? So we're gonna have those features, and I'm working on building that right now as you speak, and that'll be released at the 1st of January. I'll have a
Man, that's
website.
exciting.
Yeah, we'll touch base, and I'm gonna have QR codes where you can just upload it, and basically it's gonna have an info box. Like I've done this, like you, 24 hours a day, Cody. Y'all text me. I always answer. I tell people if I don't get to you, I always get back. That's what I'm known for. I'll always call you that day at some time. But now that website's gonna help me navigate. It's kind of gonna be like an employee to me. You can go in there and go, hey, I'm Cody Matson. I'm looking for a gold super scroll and a 32-inch fixed parkour. I see you have one, or do you have one coming? And that info box every morning when I wake up, boom, I'm going to be able to, answer that email and tell you what we've got.
That's great, and that's going to serve the customers well, and
Yep.
you as well. So that's cool because you get so many unique things in. I've sold a few standard grades, but recently we've sold some pretty cool, super scroll,
Yep.
gold super scrolls, that kind of
Oh, yeah.
stuff. And but you're constantly getting, because people are upgrading, right? They may start in a standard or something like that, and but may come into a time in life where they can afford something a little nicer and they upgrade.
Yeah, and it's funny, I've got it, and he's a great guy. My buddy Ryan Barnes, he started with just a regular Krieghoff, and he's bought 6 since. He upgrades because good part about a Krieghoff, right? They hold their value well. So by the time he's
Absolutely.
like, man, now Mike, I bought this, and now I can go to this, and he upgrades, right? And we offer fair market value on trade-ins, right? As long as that gun's in good shape, a Krieghoff holds their value, right? They've got great resale value, and and that's what's neat, right? You can go for a year, shoot a gun, you keep it in great shape, and say you want to go to the next level. You don't have a ton of money out of pocket, right? So that's what's neat. Now, you go buy, like for cars, for example, Toyota, right? Toyota holds its value very well. I look at some of these used Toyotas like to run around, like using them at the club, and I'm like, thing's so expensive. It's a 1999, right?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, same thing with a Krieghoff, right? They hold their value very well. When I tell people with the way the world is, this is a cool thing for people to hear. I had a kid that his grandfather passed away, and he left him a gun, and he had this beautiful K-80 San Remo, and he had all the paperwork on his grandfather. I'm not going to tell you what he paid for it because everybody would go, whoop, what happened, right? But a long, long time ago, like an original San Remo, and I actually had a customer that wanted that particular gun. And the kid thought it was going to be worth way less, right? He didn't know. He's 22 years old. He just told me, and this was really neat. It was right before Christmas, and he goes, look, I went to a pawn shop. I think they're crazy. I'm like, never go to the pawn shop for it with a Krieghoff. And he said, I saw you were a dealer. I looked you up on the website. Can you help me out? He brings the gun in. The gun's mint condition. It's beautiful. It's
Wow.
beautiful San Remo. It's got 4 barrels for it. 410, 28, 20, the 12. And he wanted to get rid of it. And I said, I actually have a guy looking for this gun, and he is a good guy, and he'll pay you a lot more than you think it's worth, right? Because he knows the price for it. Because I said, you're looking at a tag from forever ago. And man, I made that kid's day, right? Because I sold it for him the next day, and he came back the following day and picked up the money, right? And he was like on cloud 9, and man, you made our Christmas. I've got a 6-month-old, my wife's tickled pink. And that was something, so that's a good story to tell you. You might buy it today, and by the time the world changes and the economy changes, that gun later on might be worth more than you paid for it.
Yeah, actually
Just like that's,
appreciate the value.
yeah, right. Like an old antique car. All right.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. There's so many configurations that, if you get on Krieghoff International's website, there's the engravings on there, and I find myself just scrolling through there. But, there's something for every personality. There's folks that want game scenes. There's folks that just want scroll, whatever it is. The cool part is you have such a large network of people. People will approach you and say, hey, I have this. And then somebody else has told you, hey, I'm looking for that. And you can connect them. And so it's just cool. It's fun to be a part of it. I'm super excited to, be working with you on that stuff. And it's going to be a good time.
Yeah. And the other thing, Cody, like you said, I think we had this conversation before. And I just want to tell people what they're buying still, right? So you've had different manufacturers say, it's done. And I'll be honest with you, hand engraving is a lost art, right?
Right.
But we still offer that. Hand done guns, you are buying a piece of art, right? That was done by a human with a chisel and a wheel, right? And just working that thing many hours, and they're artists. And there is value in that, right? Because I literally have customers that won't buy a laser gun. And don't get me wrong, some of these laser engraved guns are unbelievable. Like how, technology has advanced. They're beautiful. They look amazing. But one of my favorite things, and I've got a good buddy of mine, he only buys hand engraved guns. And his name's Mike Purley, good guy. Because he respects the artwork. Right, he loves it, and he looks for what we call imperfections. The laser is always going to be perfect, right? Or they're not going to produce it. You can see where they were, maybe working the tail off the dog, and they kind of had a little slip. He calls it perfect imperfections. And he loves that, right? He knows somebody did that by hand, and if you kind of look at the whole gun, I always tell everybody, if you want to really respect an engraver and what they can do, take a magnifying glass, right? And just go on that receiver or anywhere. And it is pretty amazing what
Oh,
they can
it's
do.
it's unbelievable. And we live in a world where things are mass produced, and I think as things keep trending more and more to automation and all of those things, and this is just my personal opinion, I think that handcrafted anythings are going to be sought after, right? That
It is.
personal touch and that feel. And I'll tell you, anybody who hasn't gone on YouTube and seen the Krieghoff factory tour video, I can't remember who did that, but
Yeah, Johnny Carter did it. I
yeah,
talked to him at the Nationals this weekend about it.
I
Awesome video.
mean, but when you see that go through that process and everything, I mean, you truly understand that these guns are handcrafted, one of a kind. And and you're right on that engraving. I love mine, and I catch myself looking at it all the time, and it's just amazing. They are functional works of art, that we use as a tool. And man, they're so cool, and it's a statement piece, right?
It is.
It's your gun, and pick out the wood and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's a dying trade, right? I think, you're going to see, less of them, right? Out of every, what I would call high-end target shotgun and so that's going to make them even more unique, more
That's right.
desirable down the road because some of these guys still love the artwork, right? Same thing we're going with, not to get off topic, but I had this conversation at the Nationals, what we call fine gunsmiths. You got, your Mike Sherman, he's getting older, Rich Cole, Tim Ward, all the guys at Krieghoff, Matt, all of these guys are artists, right? With gun work. They like to they don't just like to match parts. They like the fine filing and, I tell people like a gunsmith's gun, right? Make no mistake, we need all of them, right? But these guys too, just like engravers. And I tell everybody, if you're a young guy and you're very hands-on and mechanically inclined and you don't really want to go to college, the world's not over for you, right?
That's right.
There's a market out there where you can make a great living and work on different firearms, right? Of all different brands and really make a great living. And if you want to work from 11 o'clock at night till if you're a night owl, you can do that as well.
That's right.
But I got a lot of respect for those guys. All those super really good high-end gunsmiths, they're all phenomenal, right? And they work, and
Oh yeah.
they're really good at it.
Yeah,
So
they're masters of the craft. I mean,
yep,
and that takes so much time and experience to do what they do. And I'll be honest, I've pulled my stock off my gun, after shooting in the rain or something, and I look in there, and I'm pretty handy and can do a
yep,
lot of things, but I look inside there and I said, nope,
yep.
I'm good on all that. I'm going to go ahead and leave that to the annual service
Yeah,
folks.
they tell me all the time, Cody, Mike, you stay with sales. Like we don't
Yeah,
even change a beat, right? But I know that, right? And that's what I tell people. And know your limits, right? A lot of things I can do with guys like, hey, I need my safety turned off, or I want to lock my
sure.
barrel selector. Absolutely, but if
Yeah,
I get somebody that comes in, I said, look, let's get it fixed the right way.
that's right.
And and then they come back, man, my gun's running great. That's what it's about. And all of those gunsmiths and all of our gunsmiths at Krieghoff, they take craziest pride into it. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they really do. So we've talked about, the aesthetics, we've talked about the service, but those guns are putting people on podiums, right?
Absolutely.
There's some magic going on in there. And, on my parkour barrels, they're fixed, mod, I mod. I mean, the pattern on that gun is just next level. I mean, it is throwing a nasty pattern out there that just is crushing things. And so, I mean, speak a little bit about to the performance side of the gun. What do you think attributes to the success that folks are achieving with them?
Well, that's a great question, Cody. Basically, starts again with that full menu, right? We can get them what they want and the gun, right? So some of the best parts about the K-80, first of all, is trigger. The trigger is phenomenal. They're
It's like
all
a
mechanical.
precision rifle trigger, man. I'm
I agree
telling
with
you.
you. Yep. It's
Awesome.
precision. It's unbelievable. It's my favorite feature. And another thing is recoil. Very soft shooters. And if I've had people, Mike, this gun's kicking me. I said, well, we need a little pitch, right? Where's it kicking you, right? And we can do things like that. And they're like, wow, that made a world of difference, right? I helped a young lady. She had basically a bruise on her cheek at the Nationals. She was shooting in front of me at an event. And I said, let me help you with that. And I literally took her back to Krieghoff and got 2 washers, gave her a little pitch. And she goes, oh my God, Mike, it's gone, right? But nobody showed her that, right?
That's right.
Little stuff like that. And I think our barrel work, right? All the barrels are hand done, and checked and proofed out of the factory. Quality control. You said we're not mass producing. So we have a big, don't quote me on how many steps before that gun leaves the factory, but everything is tested and it very rarely flips, right?
Hmm.
And so you're getting a gun where if you're producing, 1,000 barrels a day versus 5 barrels a day, you're going to get a better quality, right? Because they're taking pride in that. And like I said, we're never going to be a mass produced gun. We're not looking for that. I mean, I talked to Dieter about that again. He'd rather say, Mike, this is what we're going to sell a year. This is what we can handle and keep that quality control and for performance. What I like about it, an awesome stat that Alex shared with me, talking about what keeps the guns going. 52% of all Krieghoff employees are gunsmiths.
Wow.
So that shows you they stand behind their service, not just selling you a gun. And that's not counting the people that are certified through Krieghoff to work on the guns. Yeah, so yeah, 52%. I think that
Wow.
helped. I literally, my fault, right? I hadn't had my gun serviced in 4 years. 'Cause, I'm like, oh, you don't shoot a ton, Mike. Well, I shoot a little bit more than I thought. When I do shoot, I shoot a lot. So I was at the Nationals and, you know, broke the selector spring. So
Yeah.
what's neat about that, considering the question of why Krieghoff is so successful, I bring it in to Jeremy, one of the gunsmiths, and he said, Mike, when's the last time you had a service? And I said, don't look. Well, they can look it up on the computer.
Sure.
So he goes, too long, I'll fix it. And he said, here's the deal, you're coming up in December. And he said, they actually have an update. And he said, your selector spring's gonna be no issue ever again because they've
Oh,
got a
wow.
neat. Yeah, so there's things with the gun. We're always updating and looking to get better. What can we do? Look, make no mistake. I don't care if you're shooting a gun off the rack that was $300 or $100,000 gun. They're gonna break,
That's
right?
right.
It's just when, right? People don't realize what we're doing to got the average guy that buys a shotgun shoots about 2 boxes of shells a year, right?
Yeah.
And we're putting these guns through the ringer. We'll shoot 2 boxes in 5 minutes,
That's right.
right? So we're putting these guns through the test. So Krieghoff is a true, German tank. They're trying to always be innovative and go, all right, what can we do to make these run longer? Right? Because everything's gonna break. I mean, if anybody says, "Oh, my gun's never broke," I said, "You don't shoot enough,"
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Especially as a competition shooter, but they're always looking for updates and they're always updating everything. And okay, like this has been a problem, but here's how we're going to fix the next solution. So that's what I love about the company. And I think that's how the gun's so successful on the podium. And I think, honestly, prime example, you had a funny comment on Facebook. A guy goes, Derek Mine is now shooting a Krieghoff. They must have paid him a lot of money. Derek Mine is now shooting a Krieghoff simply because he wants to. I
Yeah.
can promise you, right? I was involved in that. He's a personal friend of mine. He's one of my better buddies. And he did not switch. He switched because his dad shot one for 30 years and he really liked the people and the culture on the team. And he really liked the Parkour X. And that's why he switched. It was not a money thing. A matter of fact, he probably took a pay cut. He believed in the product, right? And
Yeah.
that's nobody, I'm not saying that as an official thing. I'm saying it had nothing to do with the money and that's how silly people can be. I feel that everybody who shoots for Krieghoff, that is, on their pro staff as far as a competition shooter believes in the gun, right? Believes in the product. And I
Yeah.
think that's what makes it really successful. One more example with that, and Braxton's brother-in-law, Dieter, I had a conversation. Brandon Powell, when he came back to shooting, the long story short is he was not sponsored by Krieghoff and he still shot that gun. And I said, Brandon, just asked him when I said, are other companies approaching you? He goes, absolutely. He goes, but I'll never shoot another gun but this gun. So, I mean, if you don't call that loyal to a product, you'll never
Yeah.
call it, right?
Well,
He shot it without, and he kept shooting it, and he loves the gun. And he really does. And everybody, I think, that shoots our gun loves our gun. How can you not? I love the gun, right? I'll shoot it. If Krieghoff said tomorrow, hey, Mike, you're no longer sponsored, you're over the hill, whatever, I would still shoot my Krieghoff because I love the gun.
yeah.
Absolutely love the gun.
Well, I share the same sentiment, in talking about the performance and everything. So when I started shooting it, Will Fennell loaned me his backup gun because he was so confident that, and I've talked to you about this, you go to shoots without a backup gun, right? Because you were so confident in the gun that it would not fail. And if it did fail, the service would be right there to instantly get you back up and running. But, I was totally sold. I was shooting well with my other gun and, was a little apprehensive about switching. And I'll tell you what, it is a massive, massive advantage. And any student that I've had either demo my gun or another one, I mean, almost all of them have purchased one. I mean, it's just they sell themselves on performance and everything. So that's super cool to be getting those in people's hands. But this is going to be a good event. So how do folks sign up? Is it just show up on November 23rd and 24th? Is Sarah handling all that, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I've got Cherokee Rose is going to put out a post, and they're going to send it to all of their email blast. I'm going to send one through ours. And then I have on there, you can contact my wife if you want a time, but we're not disencouraging anyway. Like, if you don't have a time, if it's a spur of the moment thing, show up. We're there all day. We want you to come try everything. You're going to have every chance of every configuration that we produce, right? What we make. So that's the golden time, and you can try them out. We encourage signups because we want to make sure you have your gun, right? If 100 people show up at the same time, well, we don't have 100 guns, right? But, you're going to have your gun there. I'm going to have my gun there. Brandon's going to have his gun there. Turner's going to have his gun there. And we're going to have a bunch of demos. But, yeah, come on out. But I would encourage people to sign up if you really want to try a gun. And if you're just a shopper that day, right? If you already own a Krieghoff and you're looking to buy another one or check some stuff out, I'm going to have inventory there. Right, I'm going to have guns, right, for sale in different configurations. So if you're just a shopper that day, I'm going to be there, and my wife as well. And, we're set up to sell that weekend too. So if you've always been wanting one and you're like, man, I can't drive to South Carolina or I can't drive to Florida, wherever, come on out. You're close to that Atlanta area. I would encourage it. And they're going to have they've got plenty of traps that Cherokee Rose shoot off of, and you can try them out. I want to see how it handles on a crosser. Well, Cody can take you to a crosser, I want to see how it does on a trap shot, we can do that. If you're a ZZ Bird shooter, right? Halise shooter, they've got a Halise ring, right? So you can try one of our guns on the Halise ring.
Absolutely.
That's going to be neat.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, that's such an awesome opportunity. And yeah, I would encourage the signups as well. That way we can take everybody, and again, just have your time reserved and we get to spend that time with you, and that's going to be great. So cool. Awesome. Well, I can't think anything else to add to this, but it's going to be a good time. I look forward to seeing everybody out there. And again, if you can't make it, look up Mike on social media and check him out. He's always posting pictures on all the inventory and stuff and Rocky Creek, and that's great.
Yep. And if anybody has any questions, you can shoot me a note, anything like that. Just give me a call, or shoot me a message on Facebook or email, and we're going to have stuff there, and I'm looking forward to it, and we're going to have a good event.
Awesome. Well, Mike, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy, and I appreciate everybody that tuned into this, and we hope to see you at Cherokee Rose on November 23rd and 24th, and it's going to be a good day.
You got it. We will see you there.
Thanks for joining us. Remember to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform to the Clay Lab so you don't miss an episode. Check out MatsonShootingAcademy.com or reach out to Cody at MatsonShootingAcademy@gmail.com. Consider joining as a channel member too by clicking that join button below on YouTube for early access to videos and podcasts. We'll catch you here next time on the Matson Shooting Academy podcast.